Looking to take your financial knowledge to the next level? You're in the right place. Welcome to Ask Ralph, offering accounting, technical, and financial advice. Whether you're looking to save taxes or improve your business, he's got you covered. Here's your host of Ask Ralph, Ralph Eastep Jr.
Hello and welcome back to the Ask Ralph Show. I hope this is not your first time joining us, but if it is, I want to welcome you to the show. My name is Ralph Eastep. I'm an accountant in Middletown, Delaware, and I do this show every week to share with you some ideas. Sometimes we have articles that are of interest to us, or we talk about some strategies for business or tax success. If you're interested in finding out more about our practice, you can go to AskRalph.com. That's a great resource that you can go take a look at and find out about our firm. We also have a whole library of prior podcasts and radio shows that you can listen to. Well, today I thought I'd talk about 3 simple strategies for contributing the maximum amount to your 401k. And it's a great time to talk about that now that we're getting close to the end of the year, within a couple of days of the end of the year, actually. A lot of people will say, well, that's impossible. How would I ever do that? Well, there was an article written by Andrea Combs. She's a writer for NerdWallet, and I'm not a big proponent of promoting other people, but this, I got to be honest with you, NerdWallet is a really good resource that has some, sort of no nonsense information. So she wrote an article that posted on their website on December 26th, and I thought we'd talk a few minutes about that. And it's the thing about 401ks. This is the time to save. The idea of a traditional pension plan like our parents had or even our grandparents had is really not the case anymore. And, the key is to try to max out on those savings. In 2018, the maximum contribution to a traditional 401k plan is $18,500. Now, if you're 50 or older, you can actually put up to $24,500. Now, a lot of people will say, Ralph, how in the world am I going to put $18,500 into a 401k plan? Now, part of that has to do with your income. I'm not going to sit here and say that that's not the case. You have to have a reasonable amount of income in order to do this. But that being said, there are strategies you can employ to do it. Now, there's been some studies done, and 9% of the people in the study, according to Fidelity Investments, which ranked 15.3 million plan participants, only 9% of the people saved the maximum contribution amount in 2017. So that's not a big number. So then what becomes our inspiration to ramp up the savings rate? How do you do it? So they asked the principal, another financial group, asked a question, what did you sacrifice to get there? And 44% said they deal with high amounts of work-related stress. That is, work harder than they'd like in order to save more money. So strategy A, 44% said, well, I just work more. I work more, I put up with stress so I can put more away for retirement. 40% said they don't travel as much as they'd like to. So they're foregoing vacations, they're foregoing travel to put that money away. 39% said they drive an older car. That's another option as well, and listen, I'm one of the ones that I love to have a new car. That's fantastic. But if it's a sacrifice to get you to the point of being able to save more money, then that may be something to consider. And 33% in the survey said they own a modest home. So that's another option as well. You might have a modest home. So what are some strategies that you can employ for doing this? One of the people that's mentioned in this article, this lady said, we drive a 15-year-old car. We have a house that a lot of realtors would call a starter home, which we call our forever home. And it comes down to a decision of, what is it you're trying to accomplish? If your goal is to save money, then you may need to make some decisions. And like I said before, higher income will certainly help in this regard, but it doesn't have to be. So here's some strategies to increase retirement savings at any income. And the first one is take it slowly. And that start by saving, then increase your rate when you get a raise and whenever it's feasible. And I know a lot of people that do this. So they'll start off with, let's say that your employer matches the first 3% of your retirement contributions. Well, they're going to say, okay, fine. I'm going to go ahead and put the 3% in because I don't want to leave money on the table. That's a no-brainer to me. And then as your career develops and you get those raises, rather than taking those raises in money that actually is your net paycheck, you learn to live with that and you take that net raise and you put that towards your retirement or a split thereof. I have some clients that say, I take, 70% of my raise goes into my retirement and then I just spend the other 30%. So that's another option. Fidelity in their investment survey found that almost 3% of millennials have maxed out their 401ks. So that's a bad number compared with nearly 16% 3% of those 60 to 64 years old. Now, of course, that makes sense if you think about it. If you're in that bucket of 60 to 64, you better be maxing that out if you haven't prepared ahead of time. But the 3% of millennials max out is scary because that's going to be their only source of retirement. So that's number one. Take it slowly. Number two is choose automation over budgeting. And I think this is a key thing because most people do not live by a budget. But if you automate your savings, then it's out of your hands. And what they're talking about here is simply saying, okay, look, I'm going to put aside a certain amount into this retirement every month, right out of my paycheck. I don't even see it. And that's the key to this. I've told clients before, we'll set up a simple IRA or something like that for them. And they'll say, yeah, well, I'll wait and fund that at the end of the year. I said, look, let's not do that. Let's fund that every week when you take your paycheck. And you're not even going to notice that the money is gone. By the time you get to the end of the year, you've maxed out that retirement contribution. And that's just the way to do it. Regardless of the willpower you have, you're not going to get that big chunk of money. But if you take $50 a week or $100 a week or even $200 a week or whatever your pay cycle is and do that, that's going to be a key to success. Now, the last thing she mentions here, and I think this is absolutely true, and that is believe in your money smarts. And it's really around whether you have confidence or not. One of the biggest obstacles to people saving for retirement is not understanding the very retirement plan that they have. So you need to take the time to invest in understanding it. Whenever you have a retirement plan, you're going to have a retirement advisor, and you need to get yourself in front of that person at least, at the front end, and then at least once or twice a year to discuss, what is your mix of what are your mix of what we call in fancy terms the asset allocation model. But, what am I investing in? So that when you get that 401k statement at the end of each month or at the end of each quarter, you don't cringe and go, oh my gosh, I put all that money aside and now look, it's almost zero. Obviously, that's not a factor of saving. That's a factor of being in the wrong savings vehicles. So that's important that you need to understand, what you're in saving in, understand the plan, understand matching, understand, can you borrow money from it? Understand what happens if you do borrow money from it. Understand, how it's going to grow. What are your risk tolerances? All those things are really important, but it's a really big deal because what this does is this money that you put into these 401k or simple IRA or even IRA plans is taking that money out of current year earnings. So you're saving whatever your tax rate is. So let's say that you're in a 25% federal tax rate and 7% state tax rate. Every dollar you're putting aside is saving you 32 cents on that dollar. So it's only costing you, a small amount of the money that you're putting aside and saving. And it's basically the only way to save money. As we see that the tax reform, happens, then we see less and less in the way of tax deductions. This is a way to do it. And like I said before, those great retirement plans that your grandparents had or that some of our parents had are just not there anymore. So I hope this was helpful with 3 simple ways to improve and max out your 401k. And it's something you got to do.
You've been listening to Ask Ralph, brought to you by Saggio Accounting Plus. Please subscribe to and rate our podcast on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts, and leave us a rating and review. Our podcast is produced by Carolyn Peters. Thank you for listening, and be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at Ask Ralph Media. You can also hear me each week on 1450 WILM and on 1410 WDOV in Delaware and on the iHeartRadio app. Submit your questions or ideas for future shows by sending an email to AskRalph@AskRalph.com.
The information contained in this episode of Ask Ralph is based on data available as of the date of its release. Saggio Accounting Plus and Ask Ralph Media Inc. is under no obligation to update this content if changes occur. Applying this information to your specific situation requires careful consideration of all facts and circumstances, and any information provided is not to be considered as financial, tax, or legal advice. Please consult your tax advisor or attorney before acting on any material covered.